The Melbourne and Metropolitan Board of Works 40 feet to the inch detail plans are one of the most popular collections of maps at the State Library. The Board of Works was formed in 1890 to manage the city's water supply. The first priority was to engineer an underground sewage system. The gold rush in the 1850s led to rapid population growth and industrialisation. By the 1880s, Melbourne was so polluted with human waste it was referred to as Smelbourne. The incidence of diseases like typhoid were increasing, and a Royal Commission into Sanitation found the lack of an underground sewage system was the root cause. The survey of the Melbourne CBD and inner city suburbs was undertaken from the 1890s to early 1900s and is incredibly detailed. Each plan shows approximately 1 or 2 blocks and features blueprints of properties, including street names, lot numbers, and information about building materials and plumbing infrastructure, such as baths, water closets, stormwater channels, downpipes, and gully traps. This plan shows the State Library. Details on the forecourt include the layout of the lawn and positioning of statues. Hydrants and water mains are marked. Just across the way is the Melbourne Hospital, featuring the locations of the nurses' quarters, operating room, and various wards, along with the morgue, the location of cesspits, and information about surfaces that have been flagged, gravelled, tiled, trellised, pitched, and asphalted. On this plan, we can see heavy industry in Richmond, including tanneries, factories, abattoirs, and the stone crushing works and quarry. You can see the location of lime and tan pits, boilers and troughs. In stark contrast, south of the river, lie the Toorak mansions, with elaborate landscaping and garden layouts, including tennis courts and pavilions, ferneries, a hothouse, aviary, and a surplus of duck ponds. The plans are heavily used for a variety of purposes by architects, students, environmental consultants, archaeologists, home renovators, gardeners, and family historians. All are trying to gain an understanding of the environmental features of the metropolitan streetscape and the way land has been used over the last 130 years. Around 6 series of plans were produced. They took many years to complete, with surveying and drafting work sometimes stretching over decades. Surveying usually started in the city centre and gradually worked outwards. The further out from the city, the less detailed the plans became. An area was only surveyed once, so in the first series, central Melbourne is captured as it was in the 1890s. The inner city suburbs from the 1890s to around 1915, and outlying suburbs up until the 1950s. A later series covering Greater Melbourne was produced at a smaller scale and in less detail during the 1970s and 80s. The Melbourne and Metropolitan Board of Works was taken over by the Melbourne Water Corporation in 1992. The library holds a near complete set of close to 3,000 detailed plans. They were originally hand-drawn and then lithographed. There was no AutoCAD back in those days, but modern technology has allowed us to digitise the plans and share the data they contain, so that they can be freely used by anyone and modified, remixed and reused for any purpose. This is because the content is in the public domain and not subject to copyright restrictions.